We all thought that after the 2021 season, the Milwaukee Bucks were going to become one of the best teams in the NBA over the next decade because of their franchise player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And this team has changed so much since that 2021 title team, but one thing that has still been a staple is this team being built around Giannis. And I think this year we are seeing one of the best versions of Giannis we have seen since that 2021 season. And that's kind of ironic because the Milwaukee Bucks got off to an abysmal start to their 2025 season. After their loss to the Boston Celtics on Sunday, November 10th, they sat at the bottom of the Eastern Conference with a 2-8 record. We all thought this was rock bottom for the Milwaukee Bucks this season, and probably the most rock bottom they have been since their 2021 championship. But since that 2-8 start, they are 8-1 in their last 9 games. And they are currently on a 6-game winning streak as well, beating an impressive Houston Rockets team, as well as some inferior Eastern Conference teams like the Chicago Bulls, Indiana Pacers, Charlotte Hornets, Miami Heat, and the Washington Wizards. And we all know that Giannis has been one of the best players since 2021. That season, he was top 5 in MVP, top 5 in DPOY, and he finished top 5 in MVP and top 10 in DPOY voting each of the last 6 seasons as a whole. But this year, Giannis Antetokounmpo is currently leading the NBA in scoring at 32.9 points per game, which would be a career high for the Greek Freak. Add on 11.9 rebounds, 6.5 assists, over a block a night, and shooting 60% from the field. Giannis is as dominant as an offensive player he has been in his career. And we all joked about Giannis's three-point shot. It doesn't look the prettiest, and if it ever came around, he was going to be one of the most unstoppable players in this league. And this year, Giannis is shooting just 21% from 3 and has pretty much been going down in that department each of the last 6 seasons. And maybe it's not the threes, but Giannis is doing something completely different this season that is revolutionizing his game. For most of Giannis's career, he has shot around 70 to 80% of his total shots within the three-point line. This year, it is at a career high. 96% of Giannis's shots are within the three-point line. He's taking a career low 3-point attempts. But we're also seeing Giannis take one of the highest career percentages on shots from 16 feet to the 3-point arc. Giannis is taking way more mid-range and long twos this year than we have seen in his career, and he's getting so much better in that department, which is allowing him to become a more dynamic scorer, even though he's not selling out for the 3-point shots. This year, Giannis is shooting 76% at the rim, which is actually the lowest it has been since the 2018 season. Shots within 3 to 10 feet, he's shooting at 33%, but this is where he's changing his game. He's shooting 51% on shots from 10 to 16 feet at the mid-range mark, which is by far a career high. Over the last 2 years, it's been at 32% and 35%. This year, like I said, 51%. And on long twos from 16 feet to the 3-point arc, Giannis is shooting 45% on those attempts, which is by far a career high, which was in 2019, where he shot 41% on mid to long twos. Last year, he shot just 37% in that area on the court. And Giannis loves the mid-range jumpers in the middle of the floor. He's not going to be taking long twos on the baselines or in the corners, but he's going to be taking these right above the free throw line and right in front of the 3-point line. And this has been his money spot all year. And Giannis still has that slow dribble pull-up release that we've seen throughout most of his career. But this year, they are just falling. He's taking these with way more confidence, and he's able to use screeners ahead of him to create just a little bit of separation, and it's just changing the game for Giannis. If you're sagging off 1 to 2 feet off of him at that mid-range spot on the middle of the floor, he's going to make you pay, and he has just been a completely different player this season. Like I said, Giannis has not been great from downtown this season, but on pull-up twos so far, he is shooting those at a 43% clip, and on pull-ups within 10 feet, he is shooting those at 68% as well. And there used to always be a defensive alignment where you just leave Giannis open from 3, and you're going to let him beat you from that area of the floor. Now this year, when he's taking a couple steps within the 3-point arc, you just can't leave him wide open, because this is why he has been one of the top scorers in the league this year, is because of his improved jumper. Giannis can actually shoot now. And I've mentioned how great his numbers have been over the course of this year's season, but in his last 8 games where the Milwaukee Bucks are 7-1 in those games he's played in, he's averaging 34.5 points and shooting 61% from the field and only taking 1 3-point shot a game. And we know that Giannis is still one of the best defenders in this league as well. He's not going to win DPOYs. He's not going to be in that Victor Wembanyama, Tari Eason, Dyson Daniels, or even Bam Adebayo conversations throughout the course of this season, but Giannis has always been a staple defender in this league. He already won a Defensive Player of the Year award in his career. I don't really think he's slowed down too much on that end of the floor either. He's still a great rim protector. He's still a good post defender, and I think he's become somewhat underrated on that side of the floor. And we all know how good Giannis's playmaking has been as well over the course of his career. He was somebody that averaged around 4 to 5 assists per game, but over the last 2 years, since the Milwaukee Bucks acquired Damian Lillard, Giannis has been playmaking at a different level. Last year, he averaged a career-high 6.5 assists. This year, he's at 6.6 assists. And over those last 8 games for Giannis, he's averaging 8 assists per game for the Milwaukee Bucks. And the numbers back up how important Giannis is to this Milwaukee Bucks team, and without him, they would be one of the worst teams in the league, as he just makes their defense so much better, as well as their offense. And we do feel like that the duo of him and Damian Lillard have underachieved so far, and the Bucks are still long ways away to their eventual goal with this duo, because they still don't look like a finals contender. They don't look like they're as good as the Boston Celtics, a team they'd probably have to inevitably beat to get to the NBA Finals, but they are trending in the right direction over their last couple of weeks. And this is still not an elite defensive team by any means, with good defenders on this team like Giannis, Brook Lopez, and Andre Jackson, but they have now become the 15th ranked team in the NBA in terms of defensive rating, which is completely different from what they were to start off the year and what they were last year with Damian Lillard, as they were pretty much a bottom 10 defense throughout most of last year's season. This year, they're getting about league average, and I think the way that they're playing right now, they could definitely trend towards being a top 10 defense in the league. And with the Eastern Conference being as wide open as it is, because after their win against the Washington Wizards, this Milwaukee Bucks team is the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they're tied with the Miami Heat for that 5 seed right now. They just have one more loss than Miami, but they are just a game back from the New York Knicks for the 4 seed, and even just 3 games back from the Orlando Magic for that 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. And I'm not expecting them to fall past Atlanta throughout the course of the season, or Brooklyn or Detroit, some of the teams behind them. Maybe a team like Indiana goes on a run, but they are banged up and they have their own issues as well. So I think the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be comfortably a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference throughout the rest of the season after their abysmal 2-8 start. And this team still doesn't have Chris Middleton, who is their 3rd best player. And when he comes back from injury, this Milwaukee Bucks team can be even more dynamic offensively, because this year they have been a good offensive team, as they are 11th in the NBA in terms of offensive rating. And it's going to be tough for this team to eventually make a trade to surround more talent with Giannis Antetokounmpo, who they're trying to keep happy in Milwaukee. There's always going to be trade rumors, and there have been pretty much his whole career outside of that 2021 season where they won the NBA Finals. Giannis Antetokounmpo kind of shocked a lot of people when he ended up signing a 3-year, $175 million max extension with the Milwaukee Bucks a few off seasons ago, which keeps him under contract past the 2027 season, and he is a player option in the 2028 season. And I think it's really cool the legacy that Giannis can build in Milwaukee. We don't really see these players spend a lot of time on their current teams, and sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I know for Damian Lillard, he wanted to leave Portland, and he's definitely in a better environment and position right now to win in Milwaukee, but sometimes is that worth it to give up the legacy you were creating in your team's previous city? And it's not going to be pretty for the Milwaukee Bucks in the long term as well, because this team is getting older. Giannis Antetokounmpo is 29 years old. He's going to be 30 years old within the next week. And Brook Lopez is on an expiring contract, and he doesn't have many more years left in this league. Chris Middleton has been dealing with so many injuries in his career, and he is 33 years old. Damian Lillard, who they mortgaged the future for in that 2023 offseason, is 34 years old. Bobby Portis is getting up there in age, and he's going to be a free agent soon. You're relying a ton on AJ Green, Andre Jackson, Taurean Prince, and Gary Trent Jr. right now. And this team does have the role players around Giannis to succeed in the Eastern Conference. I do wonder what type of move they could make at the deadline, because it looks like they would move on from Marjon Beauchamp. Maybe they trade away AJ Johnson, Tyler Smith, Andre Jackson, one of these young, exciting players that maybe has potential on a different change of scenery. So maybe the Milwaukee Bucks are able to make a trade. I don't think they want to give up future draft picks as well, because they don't own any of their first round picks directly until the 2031 season. Portland owns a couple swaps over the next couple of years. Same with the New Orleans Pelicans from the Drew Holiday trade that they made to win a title in 2021. And then the aforementioned Damian Lillard trade when he got sent to Milwaukee in that 2023 offseason. So Milwaukee doesn't have a lot of draft capital to ship out. Maybe they can bring in a veteran around Giannis for one of these young players, but then that is just increasing your average age on this team, which is not going to be able to set up sustainable success in the long term, because the Milwaukee Bucks have done a terrible job developing talent around Giannis Antetokounmpo. Honestly, in the last couple of years, they've had a lot of misses in the NBA draft, most notably Marjon Beauchamp. They didn't even pick up his 4th-year team option. But I just think that Giannis has just been unreal this year, and I think it's going to be funny to look back on his career going up against Nikola Jokic, who has one more MVP than Giannis, and if Jokic plays the way he is right now, he's going to end up getting his 4th MVP, and Giannis is playing like an MVP right now, but he is not going to beat out Nikola Jokic for that award unless the Milwaukee Bucks end up with one of the best records in the NBA, which I don't think is going to be too realistic, even though they've been playing great as of late, because Giannis does have an insane resume already. He's somebody that's an 8-time All-Star. It's going to be 9 this year. 8-time All-NBA. He's on his way to being a 9-time All-NBA member and going to be on first-team All-NBA this year. 5-time All-Defensive member. 2-time MVP. He's got a Finals MVP, an All-Star MVP. He's on NBA's 75th anniversary team, a Defensive Player of the Year, a Most Improved player as well. Giannis kind of has it all in this league. And I think this year he's been the best version of Giannis Antetokounmpo offensively with the improved jump shot. And that can go a long way for the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs. They just have to get there, and they're going to have to beat a team that is better than them on paper if Giannis wants to get his second ring for the Milwaukee Bucks, as this team is only getting older. So that's going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys think about Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks this season. Do you think this is the best version of Giannis that you have seen? Let me know down below. Drop a thumbs up if you guys did enjoy, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.